Hey guys, hope everything's going well. We got the Sports Card Radio brothers, Colin, Joey Ingram. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you guys doing, everybody?
You got your dip shirt, and hopefully everyone has their popcorn ready for tonight.
Oh, I need some of that.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments and
chat.
Yep.
What's up, chat? Let's go. Get it. Let's
I don't
get
even know how to pronounce this, but he says LFG. That's right. Zach of all trades. Pump it. There we go. Daryl says, let's go. All right. Kaboom. Steve says, I would like to join this chat, but Notre Dame actually won a game. We're going streaking. Okay. There you go.
All right.
There you go. CNT Collectible.
If you're down.
CNT Collectible says, evening, gents. Well connected. Sports Card Radio. You should be ashamed of yourself.
We are. Every single day we wake up and we're
every single day.
Wish we lived at home with our mom and, could travel around to card shows and, make
and not
$80.
flush your toilet.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
Speak for yourself. I'm in my mom's basement right now. So that's where I'm recording from right now. So
are there basements in California?
Some. Older houses, you gotta have a really old house.
That's true. I think our first house had one actually.
Yeah.
There you go. All righty. Before we get into the hanky panky, like I call it, I got some DMs from people, and they wanted to know what's in your collection. We could start with Colin. What do you collect?
What do I collect? Card wise?
Yeah, card wise.
I mean, I have some unopened boxes that I'm holding on to. But other than that, honestly, that I wouldn't necessarily call myself a collector. We've been involved in the business of trading cards for so long. I mean, we're looking at over 20 years now. We've been buying and selling cards. It's a little hard to call myself a collector after that many time. Have I had nice cards? Have we had nice cards in the past? Sure, but they always get sold. I have probably a few thousand cards sitting in a check out my cards account, and there's a handful of cards that I've bought right over the years where I'm not interested in selling them. But in terms of actual collection, I have a Michael Olowokandi card sitting here, and the only reason why I have this is he went to the University of Pacific and we were ball boys there. Ryan graduated from college from that, and so I mean that's it. I mean, I'm constantly buying and selling cards, but nothing to keep. Like I don't, it doesn't interest me really to buy and hold onto something. And maybe the stuff that I want is out of my budget. That's potentially true as well. But yeah, I don't really buy and hold anything, but I am constantly buying cards.
Dakota says, there's no way these guys don't PC Will Greer. All right.
That's right. I got a whole stack somewhere.
Anything Jeff Wilson, anything Jeff calls out. Yeah, we're PCing over here. So we're down at least 80%, exactly. But it's certainly a positive experience. That's for damn sure.
All right. Ryan, before we get into the hanky panky, what do you collect?
I'm similar to Colin. We focus so much on the business side. I do somewhere have a really nice Barry Bonds autograph around here that I really enjoy. I do buy and sell cards on Check Out My Cards almost every day. I bought a Matt Cain serial number to 5 upper deck sweet spot. It was on a glove yesterday that I thought was nice, and I usually ship those cards to my mom and dad, actually, literally, so they get. They actually have most of my Giants collection, actually. So if I do have a collection, it's sitting actually quite literally over at my parents' house, and I'm about to ship them a couple more cards. So, but I do have a very nice Barry Bonds autograph around here that we've had for quite a long time that we actually bought, I think, from a fan of the show maybe 10 years ago. So quite a long time. So.
All right. Nice. I want to read this one comment. Chicago and Stockton together. Now you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's dangerous combo right there.
Yeah. More like Skokie, but okay. All right. Alrighty. So, hanky panky. Colin, you just made a video yesterday about the breakers and how they most likely know what's going on in it based on the hologram coding. So the thing is that now all these guys that were calling us out, saying that we're conspiracy theorists, now they're all of a sudden silent. Where are they?
Oh, well, they might be in their mom's basement, checking their diaper after, this. It seemed to me like a lot of the people that came out right away were either guys that had been, it's weird. It was some of these guys that had been in the hobby for a long time. The Laytons clocked in super fast and like started defending, and other breakers that had been doing this for a long time, like clocked in super fast. And so I don't know if it's just these guys are so ignorant and so, not perceiving what could potentially be possible in this situation. I don't know. Obviously, we had tons of comments on our freaking channel when we were talking about backyard breaks, about how this was not possible, and everything's on the up and up. And we even brought some idiots onto the program. Ryan, thank God for Ryan. He's willing to sit around for 20 minutes and interview some of these idiots that would go on and on about just basic math and just really easily comprehensible things, and say, well, it's not possible, and this, that, and the other. And what we're finding out is it's actually it's probably a lot easier than anybody that could have even imagined. And so, the haters are getting real quiet. In fact, I've seen some of the haters now now they've put on their investigation hat. 2 weeks ago, it was a tinfoil hat and a conspiracy. And now it's, I'm going to check all my boxes, and I'm going to write down all the serial number codes, because, oh my goodness, something actually could be happening. And so, look, we could pat ourselves on the back here. We're typically a couple of steps ahead on these things, probably because we just told you guys, we don't look at these cards and admire them. We're looking at this probably more objectively than most people. And when something like this comes across, our immediate attention is on, how could this be gamed? And I think certainly the younger breakers, like a backyard, they're looking at these cards differently than the older generation. And I think the people that look at this very seriously are the quote whales, the guys that are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on breaks, maybe even a higher amount than that. They're looking for every single edge that they can possibly get. My guess is that is where a lot of this information came from. It's the guys that are busting $10,000, $100,000 worth of product a month. They're the ones that crack the code. And it's my understanding from all the information that we've been getting over the last 24 hours. It seems longer than that, but it's really only been about 24 hours or so. That there's a lot more to this. This has obviously been going on a long time, but in terms of modern product, there's a lot of this. And it's good that finally the haters, are finally starting to realize that, some hanky panky is now it's 100%. There's absolutely some hanky panky going on.
Most definitely. Let's look at some comments. Steve says Beta Brad. All right. the one that you got on your program the other day.
God, that guy was an idiot.
And it's your boy. It's your boy, Crooked Ken Golden, Colin and Ryan. Please accept my invitation to the golf course. Promise I won't cheat.
Oh, God,
I'll play for some money with Ken. I'll play with money with Ken if he wants to.
Well, you don't have
as long as it's on his golf course.
Yeah. You can tell his acres or whatever afterwards too.
Yeah. So the other thing, Ryan, do you have any comments on all of this?
No, Colin's kind of taken the lead on all this, and talked to LMS box breaks and kind of going through the code. I actually had to kind of figure out the code myself too. I was kind of like looking at the codes too. So I think like Colin said, there's a lot of people who take this stuff very seriously, whether you're talking about whales, younger box breakers, people who are taking this stuff very seriously and looking at the codes and looking at how these products are coming out, looking how these cards are coming out to try to get any type of edge. You got to look at it like gambling. If you have any type of edge walking into the casino at blackjack or roulette or sports betting or anything, you could, even if it was a slight edge. So even something like this, to where whether it's guaranteed to get a kaboom or it's 90%, 95% of the time, that is a massive edge to just know, hey, if it has this sequence, if it has this code on it, it could contain these cards or likely to contain these cards. I see why this information has come out, because these products are expensive. This business has become big. This, people take these cards very seriously. I'm sure AIH, you could see that in the comment sections and some of your videos. People take this stuff very serious. They're very passionate about cards, about the business, about the hobby. And, something like this is about, as juicy as it gets from a content perspective, probably for us.
Yeah, most definitely. So what I found quite interesting, like I was saying, that all of these guys in the establishment, what made me very skeptical in the beginning, you could say like the card ladder guys, you had, I think the guys, I think, what's his name? The Luca Tiger Bronze guys that I've been on the program, they've, said that, oh, it's a conspiracy theorist, they're off base. We've talked to, what is the Hobby Box? I think, Ryan, you talked to them, right? Was it the Hobby Box?
I did. I did. Gosh, I was in such a bad mood that day. I recorded that conversation, and then the recording didn't go well. And those guys, that's a very confusing story. How they pulled the LaMelo Ball logo, man. They go to Twitter saying they got the box from Backyard Breaks, and then they kind of pivot and said it was just a joke. And then twice they had opportunities to just call me and jump on a call. They missed that. And this guy blows me up at like 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, like just texts me out of the blue. I think I posted the screenshots on Facebook or somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, bro, do you want to get on the call? So we got on the call and, all this kind of stuff. And so what a weird situation that is. Speaking of Luca's Tigers and Bronze, they defended those guys because they're customers, because I guess they sub SGC cards through Luca Tigers and Bronze. So Hobby House or whatever. So there's just all these people, all these kind of different connections to this stuff. And I think when breakers start acting defensive, that's certainly when, my ears perk up that there might be some hanky-panky involved.
Most definitely. And I think Goldberg told me that a couple of days ago, he wants to come on next week. So I'm like, okay, you can come on, but I'm not going to throw softballs, but regardless, what I also found interesting was that when Darren Ravel went to these guys, like the Backyard Bros, this is a different situation, but the Backyard Bros and also the Panini, they didn't respond. If someone was accusing me like that and you had a top journalist like Darren Ravel coming to you, I think at least a one statement response would be appropriate, but they can't even provide a response, to my understanding. Did you find that weird?
No. I for sure, I would expect like a company to just here's a canned response to this. Like most normal companies, most even decently run companies would have some kind of canned response. But the guys over at Panini are so freaking stupid. If we think these breakers are dumb, and certainly some of the people in our comments, Brad on the stream was a freaking idiot. The people that work at Panini are probably a step lower than all these guys. These guys are so stupid, and they think their shit doesn't stink. And they literally just botch like the easiest kind of layup. Here's a place where you can make a statement. Here's where you can maybe get a little bit of credibility on your side. Calm down the conspiracy theories or whatever just a little bit. And they don't. Okay. And I think to me that speaks louder than words. The fact that they can't even come out with like a 3-sentence statement on anything. These guys don't address anything. And so, another reason why I'm not spending my hard-earned money on this stuff is because you have people that run these companies that literally just don't care about anything. And so, look, it's up for the community. That's why we're here, because the company themselves doesn't give a crap. Everybody that's buying this stuff and spending their hard-earned money cares about it. And so it's up to the community to actually, have some kind of police mechanism is probably a little, checks and balances is probably a better term for it. It boggles my mind from a business sense that Panini didn't say anything, but it doesn't boggle my mind knowing the idiots that work at that company from top to bottom.
Ryan, are you surprised that these two individuals didn't make any statements? I think it was the marketing director of Panini was reached out, from my understanding.
At this point, no, because look at the way they've handled redemptions in the last 6 to 12 months. I mean, people are getting points for, these big, they're getting 400 points for expensive redemption cards. They're just cashing people out at this point. They haven't commented on any kind of controversy or positive or negative. You really have heard virtually nothing out of, from a Panini employee or kind of Panini themselves, aside from when the product releases. So at this point, no, I'm not surprised. I guess I'm also not surprised that the backyard guys haven't or don't comment to Darren Ravel because he might be a little older than them. He got kind of, the backyard guys kind of beat to their own drum, and that's probably what has made them successful to a degree because they just got to do what they want. I don't know if I'm cutting out a little bit. My screen kind of glitched a little bit there, but the backyard guys kind of do what they want. So I'm actually not surprised that they don't respond to Ravel either. But in the past, one point I would make, in the past, Panini would respond to Ravel. If this was 2015, 2016, absolutely they would have responded within 48 hours to probably within the same day. So, this change of Panini being, they've always been pretty crappy company, but at least they would respond to Darren Ravel. The fact that they don't even respond to him anymore should tell people a lot. And certainly people spending a lot of money on this, I'd at least look at that.
Yeah. All right. I put this comment by Joseph. I think, Ryan, you interviewed
this guy. Yes.
Yes. And he says, what? And it's regarding the sequence code, and I'll read it. Why? If they keep the Crown Royal box sequencing information private, they have an advantage over the rest of us, right?
Dude, you could easily figure this out yourself, bro. Like, hello. You can figure this out yourself. All the clues are there. Okay. If you can't figure this out, whatever job you have right now, hold on to that for fucking dear life. If you have a girlfriend or somebody that cares about you, go get a ring right now and marry her, because you're not going to do any better than that. If you cannot figure out this freaking code, you can look at this for about 30 minutes. It takes about 30 minutes to look at the boxes with the kaboom, write down the codes. Go look at some boxes that didn't hit a kaboom, write down a fucking code. That's all you have to do. It's literally 2 numbers, okay, that you need to be able to identify. 2 numbers. And it's a number. It's like it's only like a 1 to 10. It's not like you're looking a deviation of a 3-digit number. You're looking for like a sequence of 10 numbers. That's it. And believe me, if the LMS guy said, hey, go ahead and put the code out there, I would have. But guys, hello, our whole channel, where do you think we get this info from? You think I'm sitting around looking for this stuff? You think I'm on Whatnot looking for this stuff? You guys got to be out of your fucking mind. Okay. People send us this information, often in confidence. Oftentimes they don't want to be revealed. In this situation, LMS didn't mind to be interviewed. There were some stipulations. They have a business to run. They have partnerships with Panini and other breakers and other things that they don't want to ruin. And they asked me not to reveal the code. I am not trying to be secretive. I don't give a crap who gets this code out there. I don't give a crap who pulls a kaboom and who doesn't. The thing is the information is there. And if you can't figure it out, you have like not enough brain cells in your mind. And a lot of you guys are from the trophy generation where you want to just get a trophy. You want to just show up on the field. You don't want to practice. You don't want to work out. You don't want to hit a home run. You just want to show up, put your shoes on, put on the uniform, don't get dirty, and all of a sudden get a trophy at the end of the year. Put your fucking suit on, look at the codes, write them down, and then you'll be able to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, like I said, you're a fucking moron.
Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I would echo those sentiments. And also, I think there were a couple of videos that came out. I think Firehand did a video. I think Something Sports Cards did a video where they break down the code and they show some of the boxes being open. I think that, we almost set up the next content idea when our video was that, hey, let's break down the code. Let's show the boxes that have been opened that have these. Look, Colin and I could literally, that could be the last video we've ever made, right? And this problem with the codes and the boxes and stuff being rigged remains. So if you care about this hobby, stop worrying about the messenger. Okay, AIH, you get this a little bit, right? This could be the last video we've ever made, right? And the problem remains in the hobby. And now we've got a huge problem that we've either got loaded cases, or you can tell with the sequencing on the boxes. So I would focus on that. The breakers out there, the people who have businesses, focus on that. Okay. And so, yeah, like LMS Box Breaks asked not to, reveal the code. I think certainly anybody who's watched our videos know that we just like to lay everything all the way out there. Certainly if we were able to reveal the code and show everything, we would have done it. But that wasn't
put it on my website.
Wasn't how it worked.
I would have made a video and then said, oh, go over and click onto my website so I get 10,000 clicks onto my website. Okay, trust me, I know how this game is played. I would have got 30,000 views on a video and made $500, and then I would have made another 120 on my website. But look, we get this information, and the reason why we get this information is because our word is worth way more than some stupid Kaboom card or giving a code to the hobby or the community. I don't give a crap about that. It's my word, okay? And it was just a casual, quick, hey, do you want me to put the code out there? And he said no, and that was it. It was his information, his work. He wanted to use our platform. I don't even think he came to me initially. I think somebody tagged me in it, and that's when I started. I don't think he even came to me directly. Okay, but somebody tagged. That's the beauty of our fans at Sports Car Radio. Shout out to the chat. We have the best fans because a lot of people put this information out there, and then other people know, hey, this is right up our alley, and they send it to us. And we run with it. But look, I am not going to reveal sources. And if that source doesn't want particular information to be relayed, I'm not going to do it. Okay. Like I'll make way more money being a reliable source and earning people's trust than I would putting this Kaboom out. So you guys that can't do 30 minutes of we're talking about 30 minutes max. You don't need a math degree. I think I know kids pretty well. I think I could show this to probably a 5th or a 6th grader and they would be able to figure it out. It's really easy. Okay. And really the next leg is forget about these freaking Kaboom cards. The next leg is go look at how often this happens in other sets, because believe me, from what I'm getting, I don't even have time to go through my Instagram messages and my DMs. This has gone on in a number of different sets, and Kaboom cards, yes, they're valuable, but there's other situations here where it's leading to even more valuable, more coveted cards in this hobby. You got to do the work, guys. I know a lot of you guys out there in the trophy generation, and you're just used to showing up, not getting your jersey dirty or doing anything, and you get a little bit of a trophy and a pat on your fucking ass. It's not going to work over here like that. Okay. Like I said, if I could have put out the code, I would have made you click on my video and then click on my website and probably some other click, and I would have made, $1,000
eBay listings with a bunch of eBay listings
with
the boxes with the right code.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, buy this one.
Oh yeah. By the way, congrats to the Astros and Dusty Baker for winning the World Series.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I'm not a huge Dusty fan for what he did with the Cubs 20 years ago, but still congrats to him.
Not a fan of him. His Giants, he messed up at the Giants too, but I'm glad he finally got over the. No, he pulled out. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
He ruined Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. So I'm still pissed about that.
I'm still pissed too, but we won 3. So you guys won 1 too. So it's all good, Dusty. Water under the bridge at this point.
Yeah, it's all good now. All right. So I saw this comment earlier that if it's true that Fanatics is buying Panini, then Fanatics may have told Panini to keep quiet on that. Do you buy that?
Maybe. My info is like this deal's done and it's like over. And so I don't know what the holdup is. So I don't know. And it could be, I mean, look, the leadership over at Panini, who's the leadership over at Panini? I mean, look at any great company in the world and you can immediately identify leadership. Okay. At Panini, who's the leader of that company? Nobody knows. And so it doesn't surprise me what's going on over there. There's no leader of the ship. Every great company has a leader. And the minute that leadership falls off the company, it doesn't matter how great it is, boom, all the way down. So that's what we're seeing over at Panini. It's a sinking ship. Fanatics, their whole business model, revolves around rolling up the industry. And so whether, I don't know what their plans are, but they're going to roll that. They're either going to roll up the company or they're going to roll up the licenses. However they decide to do it, when it happens, I'm not exactly sure at this point. I haven't gotten any information on it more recently, but who knows what's going on there. But there's no leadership over at Panini, so I don't even know who Fanatics would contact that would actually do something and care.
Ryan, what are your thoughts? Pretty much, I think the CEO was Mark Warsup. I think he's been there, I think, the whole time. So I think I maybe met him once or twice. He maybe was active the first year or two, and then these guys have basically gone.
I mean,
So.
All right.
So it's crazy. So
it's your buddy again. Crooked Ken Golden says, type in code Crooked Golden for 50% off for loaded box codes.
Okay. Yes,
this is good.
If only that really worked. Gosh,
I might use it.
And he says that he also runs Panini and he has a 9-figure bank account. I wear terrible wigs. Okay.
Excellent.
I wonder if he's actually watching. That'd be interesting.
Who knows? What's up, Kenny?
What if your boy Jeff Wilson's watching? That'd be interesting.
Jeff, I mean, look, we poke fun at Jeff. I mean, would I sit down and have dinner with Jeff? Probably. And
yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd make it pay. Hell yeah. So look, I come from like the stock market to where it's like, okay, yeah, there's Jim Cramer gets ripped on all the time, but I would assume his show is relatively highly rated and he probably makes a boatload of money off of his show. Are his picks really that great when you're shouting out so many of them? A large percentage of them probably not going to work out, especially this year. So to me, it's like Jeff Wilson is like Jim Cramer, to where it's like you can be entertaining and you can be a quote net positive or whatever that means for the hobby, but it doesn't insulate you from like poking and prodding. And look, what you said at the show top, we're from Stockton. Like, if you don't have thick skin and you don't give it back to people in Stockton, you are constantly bullied. People always get in the comment, oh, you must have been bullied when you were a kid. No, actually not. We actually, you learn to dish it back super fast. Otherwise, yeah, you will be bullied. Okay. And so based on how much fire we throw at other people and don't care, you can tell, like, yeah, people tried to bully you, because that's what happens in Stockton when you go to public school. But no, we're giving it right back. That's what we do to Jeff. It's not personal. I think a lot of people think this is personal. And certainly, I mean, I go over the top a little bit, probably even on today's stream, but it's not personal. Okay. It's business. We're talking about business. Oftentimes we're talking about the business of making card selections. And if I say you suck at that just is from a business perspective, but it's not personal. Jeff has a family. Jeff, I'm sure, is a very nice guy. And look, I have respect for him and I like him from a personal perspective, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to light him up whenever I have an opportunity to do so.
Ryan, your thoughts on your boy, Jeff?
I think if you watch some of his videos, you can get value out of it. I think sometimes they're entertaining. I think, his national videos, even though he spent $100K on that star Michael Jordan card, that was actually kind of an entertaining video to watch. So I echo the sentiments of Colin on this one. I think I mentioned it on one of our videos. We like to punch up. So Jeff's is just a stand-in for anybody with more subscribers, a bigger following, a louder voice. He's been creating content on YouTube longer than we have, actually, or not. In his realm, he's been doing it longer than we have. Most people are only familiar with our YouTube content in the last eight months or so. So I think you could, if you watch you know, you're not going to watch Jeff videos and take it verbatim and go run out and buy Ben Simmons cards or buy Will Grier cards. At least I hope not. So I think you could get value out of, you know, he's one of the few people still making content out there. And I give him credit for hanging around and still doing it after kind of the boom and kind of now bust kind of cycle that we're in. I give him credit that he hasn't changed his name. He's still the sports card investor. He still buys cards and holds them. You know, he seems like he's a buy and holder. You know, he still has a lot of cards that he's bought, that he's purchased over the last few years, some of which decline in value, but he's still out there buying cards. So I give him credit for that. He's still around making content, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
Okay. I remember maybe a video where you may have said that. Did Jeff Wilson threaten to sue you guys?
No, that was somebody else. Somebody else kind of blew up his picks. It was before we were making YouTube videos. It was a guy, I think he even made an Instagram that said, I can't remember what it was called. It's probably on our website, but it was before we were actively making YouTube videos, and it just got under Jeff's skin, and then Jeff threatened. And he said he was going to, you know, do the whole legal action thing. And that's kind of when I stepped in and maybe introduced myself to Jeff Wilson. And I was like, you're not going to do that. Like, you're not suing anybody. And so I think I have those. I think I put that article up. At that point, we weren't really making videos. But no, Jeff has never directly sued me or threatened to sue me. I don't know if I've ever had any direct communication with him at all. I did see him at the Dallas Card Show. And would have been like in May 2021. He didn't know who I was, but I just saw him walking around with his camera crew and talking to people and stuff, and a lot of people coming up to him and stuff. So, but no lawsuit threats as of yet from Jeff Wilson. So I'll tell him what we tell everybody else. You know, we'll see him in court. So, you know, we'll see him out here in California in court.
Yeah, I think it was South Park's Card 2 or something like that. That Instagram channel. I think I've messaged him. Yes, so something like that. And then he said that he was allegedly threatened litigation or something like that. But I'll have to look at my DMs about that. All right. A lot of crazy things have happened this year. You look at the Mark's Cards 2 situation, or Mark's Cards, and then there's Mark's Cards 2 with the UK's going on. And the same people, it seems, that were duped by Marks, who I call Karl Marx, the same people are just defending Panini, defending all of this, you know, shill bidding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you find that, I mean, I just find it interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Colin.
What I think about low IQ people defending these companies. Is that what you're asking?
Sure.
Those are my words, not yours. Look, I mean, you know, I haven't been to a card event in a while, but the ones I've been to, I haven't been that impressed with a lot of people. And that's not anybody in the chat. That's not anybody that's a subscriber of Sports Card Radio. I would say that the average IQ of a Sports Card Radio fan is about 3 times higher than a hater. And so, but look, those people exist that'll clock in and defend these idiots. You know who the biggest idiot is PSA. Like, hello, like this group submitting model doesn't work. Clearly, like, how do we have a situation already arise with Mark's Cards? And then here we are 9 months later, and the exact same thing happens again. And this could be easily solved. Send the money, have the people that are doing the group submitting, send it to PSA. That doesn't solve all the problems. Okay. If the guy runs off with the cards or he doesn't send them back or whatever, clearly that's a problem. But it would at least take the money out of the equation. Like, I don't understand why these group submitters get paid by the individual. Why doesn't PSA take that money? Why doesn't PSA get paid and then take that money? And then when that money is paid, then they signal to the group submitter, okay, go ahead and send us the cards. Cards get sent in, they get sent back, and it's up for the group submitter to send them back. So it's clearly, it doesn't solve all of the issues, but you could have probably an insurance policy in place, either on the PSA end or on the group submitters end, where if they screw up, or certainly the shipper screws up, well, those cards can still be compensated. But we're in a situation where the money gets frozen and the cards, where you really could solve this really easily if anybody at PSA had half a brain cell in how to run like this group submission business. Okay. It's just, I mean, look, again, this is business. It's not personal, but the people that have come up with this model that hasn't evolved. Okay. We were like a group submitter back, almost 15 years ago for BGS. So we understand how this model works. So it's not new, but it hasn't evolved. Okay. And the dollar amount and the amount of people using these grading companies, that has gone up exponentially over the last 15 years. So, there's just so much liability, and I don't understand why PSA is there's so many people that just blindly trust people in this hobby, and it's always beyond me. Again, I know we're from Stockton, where you don't even trust your best friend, and so maybe that's not healthy, but look, that's just how we were brought up, that you don't trust, even your friend. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there's a lot of low IQ people in this business. There's a lot of low IQ in collectors out there. And, things like this will continue to occur as you have these rather inept people running these companies, and even less inept people that live in their mom's basement sending these cards into these companies.
Ryan, your thoughts?
It's always been like this, at least since Colin and I have been doing this podcast or the website since 2009 or 2010 or whatever it is. It's always been like this. And it was obviously much smaller pre 2019. And you had, a smaller niche number of card podcasts or people on social media defending these companies. There's always been a line out the door to defend every mistake Topps makes, every mistake Panini makes, every mistake PSA makes. There's fanboys for everybody. PSA fanboys. There used to be a lot of more Beckett fanboys than there are now. That was a big thing back in the day. There was Beckett fanboys and PSA fanboys and Panini fanboys and Topps. That's just the way it is. It's always been that. And during the boom, I think everybody was making money and people kind of lost sight of that. And now that you're seeing this kind of bust cycle, you're seeing a mass kind of probably exodus from the hobby, and the people remain, are that, they might have to start being a little more critical, but there's always going to be people who are going to defend Topps, Panini, Upper Deck to a degree, PSA now, Beckett when they were big, but that's just the world we live in. And when the hobby was much smaller, I want people to understand that when the hobby was much smaller, this same exact thing happened. When there would be a scandal that happened, the Flawless scandal, where they put Event War and they put Event War cards that they said were game used, there was a line out the door to defend Panini at that point. So breakers, shop owners, fanboys, whatever, just people, whether they're passionate about cards so much that they kind of let some of these mistakes blind them. I don't know what happens, but it has always been like this. People who are just entering the hobby or people who are just creating content for the last 10 or 15 years, there's always been people trying to defend these people. And that's just the way it is. We're used to it. We kind of laugh at it. We kind of go right back at, some of these haters and kind of, we're probably the biggest trolls on the, in the sports card world, because we'll just go right back at these people. And it's always been that way. But it's definitely always been that way. It's more fun now because there's a lot more people involved. So it's actually a lot more fun now.
Do you think that people are quiet because they want sponsorships?
I think people want to be liked too. I think people, and that's fine. That if you want people to like you, that's probably like a natural human instinct, or that's something that comes naturally to them. They want to be liked. They don't want to have conflict. And so I totally respect that. And I kind of gauge that with certain, it's not going to stop me from talking crap on somebody, but like there are, and maybe that's probably the more common human instinct, is actually wanting to be liked, wanting the companies to like you, wanting the people that work at these companies to like you, wanting the community to like you, wanting to have a positive influence on these types of things. And I don't know what it says about us and myself that I don't give a crap about any of that. That I think you could argue that can be viewed as a negative trait, and that is, a flaw, a character flaw. But that's fine, because I come on these things, and when it's over, You know, I'm not sitting around yelling. Believe it or not, I'm not yelling at my kids, yelling at my, you know, people I work around or my family or anything like that. You know, it's an act. Okay. Just like if Brad Pitt's in a movie and he's shooting people or he's being crazy, you know, he's not doing that. You know, he's doing that to try to win an award and make money. And so, but in general, I don't care if anybody at these companies like me. I don't care if anybody watching likes me or doesn't. And I think that's relatively rare. I don't know what your question was. I'm used to just kind of firing off, but if that answered it, well, then fuck it.
Ryan, your thoughts?
The question was actually, are they doing it for sponsorships? In the past, the thing is, in the past, these sponsorships didn't really exist. I mean, Panini might throw you a free box. There weren't really sponsorships opportunities. I would say that you could make way more money on your own producing valuable content, maybe through an affiliate deal, maybe through display ads, than you could through any sponsorship. Okay, at least in the sports card world. Maybe there's other niches where the brand deals are bigger or there's a more lucrative deal. So if you just create really valuable content, okay, and that could be in a number of different forms, whether you're educating, entertaining people, whatever it is, create that really valuable content, and then there's going to be ways to monetize that. You know, especially in the sports card world, the eBay affiliate program is probably like one of the best things, even though they cut the payout 90% what it used to be. I mean, my God, that used to be a gold mine way back in the day. I mean, people wonder why I sat around and put up checklists all the time, and it was a freaking gold mine. Yeah. So if you create really good content, whether it's video, written, find your lane. You know, nowadays you can just post on Instagram, find your lane, create really good content, and there'll be a way to monetize that. And don't worry about, oh, so-and-so over at CSG will see me and throw me down the money. Those deals, in my opinion, don't really exist and aren't that lucrative. If you create really good content, you can make way more money on your own, at least as of now in the sports card world, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, I think, Colin, you said something about positivity. And what I find quite interesting is a lot of people in the industry keep on saying, you know, the pessimists out there. I think Carlatter was saying that. I think the SGC guy was saying that, hey, there's too many negative people or whatever, and pointing towards maybe content creators, maybe like you or me, and maybe a few others. And then the list goes on, and you see in the comment section all the time. So what's up with all these people that don't like, you know, to hear someone else's truth? And, you know, sometimes I'll be positive. Sometimes maybe I'm more negative than positive according to people, but still, I just don't understand the mindset.
I mean, I've given up on listening to people with less experience making content. If somebody's going to tell me what kind of video I need to put up and they don't have a YouTube channel with any kind of traction, I might as well go to the homeless guys that line the streets in California and go ask them for financial advice, you know, or I might as well, if I need a haircut, I go to, I go to the dentist, or, you know, if I need heart surgery, I might as well go to the barber. You know, it's like, sure, if somebody comes to me and they're like, dude, you need to be more positive, and he's got 1.2 million subscribers, and he's got a fancier Rolex than I do, and he has 3 Mercedes, I'm all ears. Like, okay, dude, what should I be posting? But that doesn't happen. Okay, everybody trying to tell us what to do either has an agenda, number one, if it's like the SCG guy or anybody in the business that, you know, is making whatever $80,000 max doing their job, or it's some scrub that doesn't have a channel, doesn't have a following, doesn't have any experience putting up any kind of content. You know, his only experience is, you know, his mom knocks on his door and makes sure he's awake and has his diaper on. That's it. Like, I'm not going to listen to those people. And, you know, and that's, you know, I don't know, but I don't know if I answered your question. I'm terrible at these things. I'm not used to being the one being interviewed, but if it answered your question, I hope so.
Ryan.
Holy shit. What was the question?
Positive. What's up with the industry being really positive and saying that, hey, all the negative guys, probably alluding to you guys and me and a few others, like they're bad for the hobby. So what are your thoughts when you hear people from the industry say that?
we get that all the time. And I always joke to those people, if I ever get into a serious conversation with those people, I'll like send them a link to like a Jeff Wilson video where he did the other day. It was like a Mojo sports betting app. And I'll text them. I'll be like, what do you think? How much do you think Jeff Wilson got to post this video? And I asked this to somebody the other day, and I sent him the link. And he said, I really don't know. He said, I would guess $1,000. And I said, there we go. I said, you want me to do a positive video? $1,000. And you can pick the topic. It could be any topic you want. So I think people don't really understand how life works. Some of these positive videos, there's an agenda behind those, especially, Jeff Wilson promoting whatever that sports betting. To me, that was the clearest sign of, hey, he got paid probably 4 figures and above to do this video. And so I use that now as an example. People that come to us, you're always so negative, blah, blah, blah. You should be more positive. And I'm like, hey, you want me to be positive? Here you go. Whatever Jeff Wilson got for that, write a check, basically. I enjoy the negative content. I enjoy making it. I enjoy the scandals in the hobby. It's just what I enjoy now. I honestly think talking about my personal collection, that would be akin to me talking about my fantasy football team. There is like 0.01 people who would care about my thoughts on Patrick Mahomes. The same way I think there's very few people who care about what I have over here in a box of cards. It's more, hey, I'm kind of in tune. We're kind of on the pulse of some of these scams and scandals. We have been around long enough that we do have some connections. People trust us and are willing to sometimes come on the show and share information. I would say 90 to 95% of our videos is through an email, through a DM, through a text, through a phone call, through something from somebody just basically sourcing us the information. And we enjoy getting on camera and just, letting it fly. So people complain about the positivity and negativity. Again, that's something that's been going on for, a long time, 10 or 15 years. People have been telling that to me, my brother, you should be more positive. You should be more positive. And that's when we were actually putting out a lot more positive content. So yeah, the last 8 months, we put out a lot of negative content. Anybody that's complaining, you guys had 2 years in a boom cycle of cards where every single video was, this card went up 30%. This card show had record attendance. This card sold for the most money. This new company's doing well. You guys had 2 years of that. And now look at what's happened. We have people leaving the hobby. We have, the rig scenario with boxes. We have Panini treating you guys like crap. We have like a company coming in of Fanatics that people are going to give a chance. Wait in a couple years, the videos we're going to be able to do about Fanatics, how they're going to cheat people and scam people and overproduce cards and take the value out of cards and suck the money dry out of things. So that's going to be on a tee here in a couple years. So I enjoy the negativity. I enjoy the drama. But again, we can stop making videos tomorrow and these issues remain in the hobby. So if you care about this stuff, if you have a business, if this is your livelihood, if you're really passionate about these cards, I would focus on the issues and, talk amongst yourselves how those could be worked out, or how those, some of the things we talk about in the videos could get better.
Okay. Handsome Leper says, I have a genital herpes ad. I need a spokesman for $1,000. Does that work? Does that work for you guys?
Send it over. Yeah. I'll say whatever you want for $1,000.
It's $1,000 piece. That's the problem though. Because if it's just $1,000, we got to split it five and five, and that might not be enough for the genitals. But hey, look, $1,000 each, and I'm in, bro. I might even settle for like $750.
I'll wear the shirt, whatever you want. Like, just send it over.
So if you wear what the Backyard Bros is wearing, $1,000 would work.
I would do it. I'd do it for $1,000.
I would. I'd maybe do some crunches, a couple days beforehand and try to tighten up the midsection. But yeah, I'd throw on the crop top for $1,000. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that people came after me, maybe like a month or two ago was Kurt's Card Care. And I know that I think Colin did a video about that. And I think all of us were messaging each other at one point about this. So what's up with everyone getting ticked off? Just, if you're saying this is not a practice that I approve of, and then I'm getting messages all the time saying, what are you doing? You're being negative and blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying, wait, I come from the gold and silver world, and this is a no-no. So I just don't get it. I mean, it artificially increases the supply of higher grade cards. That's how I look at it. Colin.
I look at it as it's more trophy generation syndrome, where they don't want to put in the work to go find a nice card. They want to take shortcuts in life. They want to be able to, rub down and molest a card from a 9 to a 10. It's very similar to just trimming a corner off a card or, swapping a patch. Sure. I think you said you emailed the guy from PSA, and he's like, okay, rub down fingerprints and stuff like that. Sure. Look, and I'm not going to look, if you want to rub down your cards, you want to do whatever you want with them. It's your money. It's your cards. You do it. But when we are doing this to increase the value and then go sell that card, to me, it's like, maybe we should have a little bit of transparency around that type of thing. And sure, if the buyer of said card is cool with it being rubbed down and molested, then by all means, sell the dude the card and the transaction's going. But at the very least, I think just having this discussion out there, because there's going to be segments in the market where they don't care what you do to the cards. They don't care what you rub on them or you trim off of them. They don't care. And that's fine. Those people are fine. But there are purists, if you will, or people that do come from the coin world or do come from the comic book world where it's a little bit more disclosed, or the art world or something like that, where restoration is disclosed and pretty well documented. Look, we respect those people as well. And as long as we have this information out there, the people that want the unmolested cards can buy those. The people that want them all rubbed down and glossed and, shined up, by all means, they can buy those cards. A certain amount of disclosure. Obviously, if it's a $50 card, either way, it doesn't matter. But a lot of these cards we're talking about are, the Herbert was like $1 million or something. I think these things should be disclosed. And look, if both parties are fine with it, knock yourself out, rub it with whatever you want. I don't care. But, it's cool to talk about these things, and it's cool to let the community know. And maybe over time, the vast majority of the hobby doesn't care. And it's cool to have, you have a bottle of wax, you're opening up your cards, and it used to be you had your box, but now, you got your little mink oil over here and a microfiber cloth, and you're rubbing it down. If that's going to become part of the hobby, you got your supplies, you got your box, you got your rubber gloves now, and now you've got mink oil on the side. If that's not what the hobby's going to turn into, well, fine. I don't care. Maybe a mink oil sponsorship for sports card radios down the pike. But in the meantime, I think there's plenty of OG collectors and even newer ones that don't want that done to their cards, or they're not part of the trophy generation. And the actual hunt for the card that is actually perfect, that, is a one of one in terms of its condition. Maybe that's a part of some people's hobby, fun and enjoyment. And so look, either way is fine. If you enjoy rubbing down your cards, fine. I don't care, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. That doesn't mean we can't discuss it. And that also doesn't mean that parts of the community that take offense to that can't feel that way as well.
Brian, your thoughts?
I think that we should be talking about it much more. And I know that the SGC guy, we kind of rip on him when we kind of show the clips. I think he did talk extensively, about the card cleaning and how they feel. I think people with authority in this, the graders, the card graders, need to talk about this a lot more, and not kind of keep it off in the shadows. And hey, what is allowed and what is not? What chemicals are allowed and what's not? What type of rubbing down pictures of men is allowed and what is not? So I find the whole conversation interesting. I'm still traumatized from covering the card trimming scandal of 2019. I'm still, we came out of retirement 8 months ago, basically, from that. So I'm still traumatized from that. I mean, people were bent out of shape that we were talking about cards being trimmed. people were like saying, oh, you shouldn't talk about this, oh, blah, blah, blah. So I could only imagine something a little more gray area. You're rubbing down a card, maybe you're applying a substance. I think PSA, Beckett, SGC, all the graders should just talk about it more. What's allowed, what's not. I think, honestly, they should just charge to rub down your cards themselves and just eliminate these card guys. Like, hey, you want us to rub down your ultra modern card before we grade it? $2 extra or $5, whatever it is. Just use it as an add-on service. I would eliminate these little sleazy middlemen guys, because we're just seeing what they do on camera. We don't know what card, Kurt Card Care and some of these other guys do off camera. And is it now more into you're altering the card, you're fixing a corner, you're recoloring something, you're fixing a crease on a vintage card. These are gray areas that we should be talking about it. So, when people try to shut you up, AI Sports, I would just be like, this is stupid. Like, we should be talking about this, especially with people, that have a presence in the hobby, and especially the people with authority, the grading companies themselves. And I know the SGC guy did address that directly, so people could go find those videos. I think Neo Sports and Comics did an interview with him, and Sports Card Dad did an interview where I think he talked about it in both interviews. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I know you sent me a DM maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, Ryan, and you said that you believe that PSA may have the ability to detect a solution like Kurt's Card Care. And the thing is, I know on the coin world, they can detect, if someone is, cleaning the coin. So if they had that technology 10 years ago for coins, I mean, they must have it for cards. I don't know. I'm just
I think they're more worried about you can clean like a vintage card and like really brighten it up and make it white. Whereas I think they've really just had to start thinking about the cleaning and kind of altering of these ultra modern cards. This is probably not something they had to think too hard about even just a few years ago. I don't know. I don't know what technologies these grading card companies have or don't have. I have heard, and I think it's more focused on the vintage side, that they could detect, like sometimes they'll bleach cards, or you'll soak like vintage cards and then take them out. PSA, and I don't know. They may or probably are trying to work on a way to detect that. Now with modern cards, with the stuff that Kurt's Card Care puts on, if you get it all off, if you wipe it all off, if you wipe it clean, you may not be able to tell what's going on now. But if there's a little fleck, if you leave some on there, it's possible. Again, this is where the grading companies need to step forward. Hey, what technology do they have? What do they look for? And maybe kind of answer some of these questions for people.
Colin, your thoughts on this?
Shout out to the chat. You guys are on fire. That's just classic sports card radio inspired chat. Definitely some good stuff. I kind of agree. Look, to have it as an add-on business model over, hey, Nat, we'll take a royalty, for the first 100,000 people that send in a card to get rubbed down, we'll take a quarter. Look, turn it, there needs to be more clarity here. And this is the problem with the hobby, is that there is that, the community is the one that's constantly kind of doing the checks and balances when, look, like, hello, a card grading company could step up here. There's like 20 of them. And there's certainly like 4 that people are willing to commonly use. Hello, anybody from any of these companies, come out with some very definitive statements about these types of things. And that's a way for like the 5th and 6th tier grader. Maybe you can differentiate yourself. Okay. You're not going to compete with PSA and the other ones on marketing and their track record. Yeah. Send it to XYZ grader. They rub it down. They make it perfect. And they charge you more for that. Like, to me, that seems like the most obvious thing that one of these upstarts can do, other than just try to compete with these companies head to head, which is just never going to work. So that's my thoughts on that, I guess.
Yeah, I think CSG has a pressing division, but don't quote me on that. for the comics. Now, the thing about Kurt's card care, I still saw the other week, some people were sending me that he still had cards that he may have had other people that were cleaning using his product, and then showing, hey, they cracked a case, cleaned it, resent it to PSA. And then now what he's doing, I believe, is he's just blocking out the new cert numbers. And then I think Zach of all trades is in this chat, and he sent me a message saying that, hey, you could zoom in through a computer program and then you could see the cert on it. So I think it's crazy for them to even, for him to post it, but to each their own. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I mean, I think these guys' IQ is about as high as a piece of lint on the ground. And so, it doesn't surprise me what these guys do and what these guys come up with. So, they're figuring things out on the fly, whether or not they make the right decision, I don't know. But the odds of them being around in this hobby for any length of time is slim to none. We've seen these types of guys come in and out of this hobby, and we're the sports card radio is the cockroaches of the industry. Like, people have tried to exterminate us for well over a decade, and we keep coming back, and we're a little bit bigger and a little bit uglier and a little scarier. And the rest of these guys, they'll be nursing their mom in their basement.
Ryan, do you think it's crazy for Kurt's Card Care to still post pictures of that and just block out the cert number?
I think he believes he's doing nothing wrong. So I think he's surprised he's getting backlash, because I think some of these newer people, they think it's like an art project. Hey, let me see how I can turn this PSA 7 into a 10 or whatever it is, and they kind of look at it that way. And I know in the comic book world, it's okay to press comics and kind of repair comic books, and certainly in the art world, you touch up art paintings and restore them and stuff, and all that's documented. In the sports card world, that just, so far, a lot of people really shy away from that. That's a big no-no. That's why these grading companies exist in a lot of ways, to authenticate these cards and kind of to prevent a lot of this. Of course, we've seen over the years, they're not very good at it. But I think personally, the Kurt's Card Care guy, he doesn't see himself doing anything wrong. So he hears maybe us shouting or you shouting over here saying, hey, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong here. And the grading companies aren't telling him, hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't use chemicals. Hey, you can't rub down cards in this kind of way. That's why if I were one of these grading companies, I'd just end this guy's life and business right away. I'd be like, okay, yeah, you want us to rub down cards? Sure. Oh, and we have this solution that we'll put on to it. Whatever. You could have all kinds of different charges. I don't know why the grading company hasn't done this. I mean, they pretty much just grade your card and that's it. I mean, there was talk of a big, Logan Paul chain and stuff. What about an upsell on like a $500 case with a diamond-studded chain and stuff? I think keep seeing the price being lowered on, these grading companies, probably because they're not getting any business. Well, there's probably not a lot of creativity going on over there. So I don't know. Maybe one of them should look into, at least with Ultra Modern, hey, we'll rub it down for you, or we'll do whatever. That's free with the service, or $1 extra, we'll rub it down for you. People are doing it anyways. I'm buying cards on Check Out My Cards that have been rubbed down, right? So at some point, these grading companies need to step up what's allowed, what's not, and then they almost need to offer the service themselves, in my opinion.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. So I wanted to ask you guys, you've obviously been in this hobby for quite some time. What's the craziest thing that you've seen? I mean, I've seen over a decade ago crazy things in the bullion world. Now, you guys have talked about a lot of hanky-panky going on. So I'll start with you, Colin. What's the craziest thing that you've seen?
Oh, the craziest thing I've seen. God, this one's a tough one. Josh Cade not knowing what a boy or a girl is. I'm trying to think what's the craziest thing I've seen. The most probably the most interesting thing was the card trimming thing unfolding. It was either preceded, I think it was preceded a little bit by Dak Prescott. The auto pen on his rookie cards, I think maybe came before the trimming. I can't remember at this point in my life, but the trimming cards was like this unfolding situation where you had the Heroes of Sport product and guys like Leighton and God, I can't remember any of the other guys that broke that stuff. But there was other guys that broke that stuff. And then inside, that product was flawed on its own, and Jamet was a felon and all that. But then inside there were the trimmed cards. And then we start connecting, not we, but people and blowout forums and stuff started connecting the dots there. And then Ryan and I do our normal thing is we just take somebody else's work and kind of amplify it. And just watching that whole thing unfold, and the FBI may or may not have contacted us, and just how quickly and how shield bidding was tied into that. And then the attention got put on the auction houses and the graders. And there were people calling in on at that time, PSA was a public company, and people were calling into their conference calls every quarter and asking about the trim cards and the liability behind that. And just that whole situation unraveling, and the fact that there was like nobody in the industry other than the people on the blowout forums, couple of people, I think it's the Net 54 forums, maybe. That was it, talking about it from a mainstream perspective. And yeah, we were just putting up a bunch of content and just watching that story unfold. And every single day, like, oh, this is trim, this was shield, this happened, PSA graded this trim card, this card was sold, and just going on and on down the line, and just seeing how little control, like actually the better way to put it is how bad these graders were at what they did. Like, they literally couldn't see a trimmed or altered card to save their life. And I still don't think they're very good at it. I think they've gotten maybe incrementally better than that, but we're not talking exponentially better than that. And so I think that whole series of events was as wild as I'd seen probably in the hobby.
Ryan, what's the craziest thing that you've seen?
I mean, this one touches us a little more personally. It was Mike Smith, who was the original owner of Cardboard Connection. He does not own the website anymore, but I was in the National. It was in Atlantic City, I think. So it was 2016. This is quite a few years ago. And he had a table there, but it was empty. And so on the flight back, I had a long flight back, I start doing some investigating, and I find out that he's been looked at by the FBI, and then he got arrested for 5 felonies out of Georgia. And I remember literally flying home on a 6-hour flight, coming home, talking to Colin, and we're like, holy shit. We jump on a podcast, and that's our famous not 1, not 2, not 3, not 3, not 4, 5 felonies. Not 5 felonies. The thing that people got to understand about Mike Smith is he was such a dick to everybody, to other content creators, to other bloggers, to other podcasts. People didn't like to kind of stand up to him because he had Cardboard Connection, and he was just a real kind of almost a bully. But he ran into kind of 2 other bigger bullies on the block, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget. I mean, we were the ones who actually broke that story. That nobody gifted us that one, and so we broke that. The owner of Cardboard Connection had 5 felonies, and he later had to turn over the website to his wife, who I believe runs after stealing money. Actually, he had to turn over the website, but then he was still stealing money from Cardboard Connection after that. So the guy had a lot of problems. It's my understanding that Mike Smith might have cleaned up his life. And certainly, we've had a lot of battles with him in the past. All that's water under the bridge. All this was a long time ago. And so we certainly hope he's gotten his life together. We like the Cardboard Connection website, and we use it, and have no problem talking about it or going to it. But this was drama way long time ago. I wish we were making videos back then. Gosh, we could like point to them and talk about that. But
the podcasts are still up. The
podcast is still up.
They're definitely X-rated. You definitely want to put the headphones on for those because it's raunchy.
So the owner of, I mean, think about it now. It'd be like very hypothetical situation. Imagine if Jeff Wilson got 5 felonies or was looked into by the FBI. I mean, every single content creator would be either not talking about it or talking about it. So that it was a big deal back when it happened. And Colin and I took every opportunity to milk that story.
We've seen a lot of crazy things in the past, 8-9 months, but I think the craziest thing is that Platinum Brakes guy. And if you zoomed in, like you guys, showed that video, and the knife or whatever, box or whatever it was to his employee, that was just insane. I don't know. And despite all the crazy things that we've seen this year, so I don't know. Have you guys heard more stories like that? Because I think everyone said that this is crazy. Like no one talked about it. I think it's you, as me, Dan the Card Man, and maybe like a few other smaller channels. But otherwise, that was just like swept underneath the rug.
There was some really bad treatment at Beckett by Sandeep Dula, who was the former CEO, previous ownership. There's a lawsuit actually where he's at either the industry summit or the national, and he he's chucking like display boards at some of the employees and treating them really bad. And somebody who had some medical issues, he would treat really bad. But obviously nothing like that where it plays out on camera and it's live and it's, this kind of weird situation with a breaker. Beckett, Sandeep Dua is the only other that I can think of off the top of my head, kind of fights among employees or kind of something like that, kind of internal drama, at least that I can think of, or that, there's been other fights. Like there was Peach State and Gold River Distribution got in a fight at the 2014 Chicago National at the, there was like a group breaker party. It was like by the rock and roll. Anybody knows downtown Cleveland, there's like a rock and roll something restaurant. And so it was there. And the Gold River guy who's out of Rockland, I don't know if they're still in business, he was hecka mad that he didn't get invited. So he shows up, and then the Peach State guy get there, and then they like duke it out. So it's like there's a lot of drama on the distributor side of things that people don't even realize. That's the biggest contention in the hobby. The distributors hate each other. GDS up in hobby, Peach State, those guys, I mean, literally come to blows. I've seen them come to blows. To me, those guys should fire up a YouTube channel and then fire up a live stream and do a roundtable, because man, those guys hate each other and they know all the secrets. They probably know all the codes on the boxes and stuff. So, but no, nothing like our boy G with the box cutter to the neck. I've never seen it. Colin, can you remember anything like this, fights or anything like that?
No, I mean, it definitely made me the most comfortable. I remember watching, I was like, just waking up, and I think we got an email or something about it, and I watched it and I was like, ooh, that's really bad. Just as rough. Father, I can't, it's hard for me to watch that. So yeah, that to me, of all the stories this year, made me the most uncomfortable, to where it was like, wow, this is, even outside of the realm of what we normally see. You're so upset when you see something like that. It like almost calms you down to where it's like, whoa, like this has gone way too far, All
right. Going into a new topic. So I cover this a lot. I've seen this in the finance world. Colin, you've probably seen it too. Like the pumps and dumps. Like, do you think people have actively pumped and dumped in the last few years, Colin?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because in the stock market, it's the thinly traded penny stocks, and back in the day, you used to got on the Yahoo message board and you kind of pumped them up or whatever, and they're constantly pumped. Like they're running out of cash, and so it's like, oh, they need to do an equity fundraising round. So all of a sudden, there's these press releases, or it just gets pumped on some kind of volume pump, and there's even like pumping services out there that like marketing. I get my finance channel, I get contacted a lot from marketing services where they have a stock that they basically want people to talk about it, and so they're willing to pay me to talk about a certain stock. And so, over the last year, I mean, considering how thinly traded a lot of this stuff is, it would be so easy to pump this stuff, like super, super easy to pump it. Back in the day, I mean, people would do it, I think, on the blowout message board. It was like, or like Sports Card Forum, or wherever the forums are. It was like, you get a prospect and it's like, maybe he hits 2 home runs in a game, and then you go pump it on a board or something. And then, it's so thinly traded that it bumps it up a couple of bucks. But yeah, people are pumping this stuff. In my opinion, it's on the higher end stuff. They put up an auction, they pump it to 1 million, or they pump it to, maybe that's too high, but like, 50,000, 60,000. They get a track record of sales, and then they dump it on, the retail guy, at the end, basically, when all the money's kind of drained out of it. And then the retail guy kind of buys it. The money actually exchanges hands at the top. And then that's when you see the prices decline, And so, yeah, there's pumping and dumping going on all the time in this market for sure.
Ryan, your thoughts?
I think the guys who try to do it on YouTube, that's probably maybe their dream that they do it, but I think it probably happens on a higher level at the auction houses, and that stuff gets maybe shilled, or there's, a perception that this card is worth this amount, and then all these cards underneath it sell for a lot of money. That probably happened quite a bit. Your arch nemesis AIH, the great creator and stuff. Somebody like him, I think he's more low level. He probably doesn't have enough cards, or couldn't get enough volume, to really make it worth their while, I guess, in a sense. They're almost like the amateur pump and dumpers, whereas I think the Goldens, the Heritage Auctions, there are things going on there that probably classify as pumping and dumping. It may involve a little bit more show bidding, or maybe just kind of pumping the overall market to a certain degree. But these guys on YouTube who, would shout out picks during the card boom and everything was going up, hey, they look like geniuses for a couple of years, and now they've got to take their medicine. If you're for 2 years going to, pump cards and, hey, this is going up, and really, not give a lot of caution.
Yeah.
Here we are,
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, like Ziggy brought this up, and he was looking at this Luca Tiger Bronze video, and they had this one guy named, I think, Dan Fleischman, who I think may be connected to Gary Vee. And I remember that they somehow convinced a bunch of millionaires, I think including Steve Aoki, to like buy up all these cards. And Ziggy was asking the question, this doesn't seem right. That's from what I got from it. And I think he may have been alluding to that there may have been like some pumping and dumping. So do you think like a guy like Gary Vee could do something like that with his nature, even though he has millions of dollars, but maybe like associates connected to him, maybe kickbacks? I don't know. That's what I was thinking in the back of my head.
I think at that time there was the backlog at PSA. And so that coupled, so you had the market going up, okay, with a lot of the stimulus and just the catching fire of the industry, but then the backlog was trapping a lot of the supply. And so what was liquid supply out there was actually in short supply based on the demand. And so I think, I don't know if they thought about it in that direction, but it was way easier to do when you had that backlog at PSA. Everybody was buying up the raw cards, sending them in, and then they would get held there for like a year. So anything that was already back graded was just like exponentially going up. And then obviously all the raw cards were being purchased. So I think we had like kind of artificial demand when it came to like the stimulus checks and PPP loans and people kind of pouring into the market. But at the same time, you had the supply artificially get pulled away as well. since all of the cards were, or a lot of the key cards were getting trapped at these grading companies in the backlog. And so I think it was a perfect storm, whether or not people really thought about it to that level. But yeah, I absolutely think guys like Gary Vee they're pumping these cards for a reason. It's not because they want to just watch the values go up. They want to watch the value gets up and then dump it at some point. Because I sure as heck haven't seen Gary Vee talk a lot about trading cards or show off his trading cards more recently. So, and my guess is because he sold a bunch of them. So, that I think, it's kind of the perfect storm. Certainly during like mid to late 2020 into 2021, it was the perfect storm of the supply artificially getting pulled away, and then obviously the surge of demand. Everything went up in value. That's the thing. It's like we're here talking about cards, but like freaking everything like went up in value. There was just so much liquidity, and so it naturally, the liquidity got pulled, and then the supply increased, and here we are.
Ryan, your thoughts on Gary Vee?
I've heard about that. I guess, yeah, there was some kind of conference call with all these guys, and Gary Vee kind of one of the main sports card influencers a couple of years ago, and got a lot of people involved, certainly for better or worse. And, like Colin said, we haven't heard from the guy in a couple of years. So he kind of pumped. He probably saw an opportunity. I know he got $25,000 from Topps for the set that they made. I'm sure there were other opportunities in the sports card world that, he earned an income from. He probably maybe saw a bigger opportunity. Now, I do know, this is a little inside baseball, that, while this was all going on, then he got divorced. And so I don't know what, his divorce had an impact on his love for the hobby or his collecting, or maybe half his Luka cards had to go to his wife. We don't know those things. So he is certainly somebody that's out of the hobby. Vegas Dave is another guy that he was kind of in and out of the hobby. These guys kind of come in and they're a flash, and they're kind of these big revelations, and people, kind of pump these guys. I mean, you can go to a number of these influencers out there who Gary Vee. Now Gary Vee's gone. So all of these underlying issues in the hobby remain, whether Gary Vee's here, whether Sports Card Radio's here, whether AIH is here, all these underlying issues, pumping and dumping, all these type of things that we've been talking about on this stream remain. So I think if you care about the hobby, if you have a business, and probably if you're watching this, you do care about the hobby. And if you have a business, I'd start talking about this stuff a lot more. And AIH, you deal with this a lot. People trying to shut you up. We need to be talking about this stuff a lot more. And hey, if you don't agree with the way Colin and I approach is, after 12 years, we just got a free wheel and do what we want. Make your own videos, make your own podcasts. You don't even have to, no audio, no visual. Right. To me, the biggest opportunity that people are missing out is they don't have their own website. They don't have an opportunity to earn income off that. Most people are just trying to make videos, or just, trying to make a product, or just trying to sell cards. Have your own website where you can control that. You control the advertising, control the messaging over there. So there's opportunities out there. Hey, Gary Vee's gone. Vegas Dave is gone. There's a vacuum. There's a gap in some of the information that's coming out about sports card. So people out there can fill it. Certainly Colin and I, in the last 8 months, we've tried to fill it with our own style and our own brand of things over here. But I do think it's interesting how big a deal Gary Vee was for the hobby a couple of years ago, and now he's literally gone and not talked about. To me, that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think he sponsors, I think it's Card Talk Pod. I did a video about, some of those guys the other day, and like some Mickey Mouse cards or Lorcana. But I thought there's some hanky-panky going on there. But Gary Vee also did the Zero Cool cards. And what I found quite crazy was on the secondary market. I know, Colin, you talked about in one of the videos, you talked about the shill bidding. I was constantly talking about that as well. And I don't know, do you think that was just like some sort of inside job, or just the breakers were doing that?
Probably a mix of both. These breakers will, like, the thing, you talk to these breakers, like you go to these events and they The thing they care the most about is some other breaker getting more product than them and having the product, and then they don't. Like, and that's why, like, it's shocking this, like, they've let backyard breaks go from, like, you know, drooling and like jizzing on like a $10,000 card or whatever that T-Law card was worth, to now it's like they're considered like the biggest. It's like all these guys cared about was having the product. So it doesn't surprise me that they would be in there being kind of the buyer there. But yeah, Gary V backing it up with his own shill bidding for sure. And like, none of these guys care. Like, these guys don't care. Like, Josh Luber didn't come across as some guy that would care if that was happening to a product he was a part of. Like, most of these guys, it doesn't seem like they would care if you're shill bidding. Certainly any of the auction houses as well. It's the culture in the hobby anyways. You think Ken Golden gives a crap about shill bidding? We know that the PWCC idiot doesn't give a crap about shill bidding. So, and then eBay, you know, kind of cares every once in a while. So, and then Probstein and all these idiots, they don't care either. So, yeah, it's just part of the fabric of the industry is to pump and shill and just try to get every last freaking dime out of everything. And so, yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me. And every breaker out there just wants to get every last little product. They don't care if it was repacked by Will Jamit or if it was made by Gary V. They just want to get it and be breaking it, you know? So.
Yeah. Ryan, your thoughts
on shill bidding?
Yes. And the Zero Cool and all that, and Gary V.
Well, I mean, shill bidding, it's hard to prove. I mean, it's funny that Golden got swallowed up by PSA. I mean, you can't even prove any of this stuff now, that any of the stuff that's going on. I think it's happening less and less because you've seen the natural decline in the market. Some of these cards that pop up, there was a $1.8 million Justin Herbert card that sold the other day. I would love to see the transaction that actually went through. There was a $444,000 PSA 9-star Michael Jordan card. I'd love to see that transaction actually go through. People love to flex their cards. It's amazing that some of these big cards get sold and we never see them again. So that has to make you wonder, did these cards actually sell? Did these cards actually sell? Or is there an incentive for these auction houses to make an appearance that these cards are selling for a lot of money, or just one or two cards sell for a lot of money, and then all the other underlying Mickey Mantles go up, all the underlying Michael Jordans go up, all the under Zion Williamsons go up. So, I mean, I wish they were making videos back when Bill Mastro, you know, and the FBI, you know, knocked on his door and all that stuff happened. I think there's a good CNBC American Greed episode that people can watch of that. So, I mean, this shill bidding stuff has been happening for a long time. There are people in the hobby that were involved with it back then and are still involved with it now. And it's very hard to detect unless you have the platform itself, like eBay, come out and point at PWCC and say, you were shill bidding, bye-bye. How are we going to know about shill bidding at Heritage, which I believe under Texas law might even be legal? How are we going to know about shill bidding at Pristine Auction, which I believe under Arizona law, some shill bidding is allowed? How are we going to know about shill bidding at Kenny Golden's place when he's owned by PSA and there's every incentive in the world to sweep under that stuff under the rug? So we don't know about it. We don't know if these cards actually sell for what they do. We have card pricing apps like Card Ladder who take this stuff basically verbatim that these cards sold for this amount. Do we really know? Again, I off the top of my head, that PSA 9 $444,000 star Michael Jordan card, who's paying that? Right? The $1.8 million for the Herbert. Who bought that card? And why have they shown that card off on Instagram? That just went to some private guy's collection? I highly doubt that. So I think sometimes you see these big sales of cards and it's really to just prop up the underlying market for that particular player, or just a hype cycle for football or quarterbacks or just any of that in general. But again, it's stuff that's harder to prove. It's easier to prove the decoding on the boxes of these Crown Royal boxes than shill bidding at Golden. So unless old Kenny, you know, comes out from his 5-acre house on a golf course and his 9-figure bank accounts and starts talking about shill bidding, unless the FBI knocks on his door like they did Bill Mastro, we'll probably never know about this stuff. But I would just be very, very, if you're bidding on stuff, I bid on stuff on eBay every day. It's cheaper stuff. Hey, I put in a bid that I'm willing to pay, and then I'm done. If I get outbid, which happens 99% of the time I get outbid and I move on, because there's hundreds of more cards available and that you could legitimately purchase. So the shill bidding, the thing is, I'm talking about shill bidding on the higher end. There are $5 check out my cards auctions on eBay that get shill bid. There are $15 cards that get shill bid. There are people that shill bid their box breaks that they sell box breaks on eBay and then they shill bid them up. This type of shill bidding not only happens at the high end, but it happens at the low end. It affects us all, and it's hard to prove. It's hard to talk about. Nobody from the inside is ever going to talk about it. We can just bring it to light and hope that, again, people, when they're bidding on stuff, don't get carried away. Don't get carried away in the excitement. Don't get in a bidding war. In my opinion, do some research, figure out your max, your max bid, put that bid in at an opportune time, and just move on to the next card or the next auction. If, don't get, like I said, I probably put in 60 bid, maybe 40, 50 bids a day. I might win 5 things. So 90% of the time I'm losing. And, sometimes it's cards where I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have bought that one or bid a little more, but just bid your max bid and move on. But the shill bidding stuff, it's very important to at least make people aware of, but it's something very hard to prove.
Indeed. So the thing is, you're talking about private sales. Colin, like what percent of these sales do you think are private? Like when I see that Herbert sale, like a $1.1 million, I mean, I'm thinking back in my head, was $1.1 million actually spent? And then I think I see this Luka Doncic card that was allegedly bought for $4.4 million in Raw. And now it's on PWCC, I believe, on auction. Yeah. So I'm just thinking, okay, if these companies like throw out Card Ladder or whatever, they're saying they've verified it, that it's actually a legit sale. I'm thinking, is it really actually a legit sale? Like, did they go through the bank accounts? Did they do a thorough audit? I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just thinking, like, is there hanky-panky involved?
Well, I think Card Ladder is owned by PSA. So, and if it goes through Golden, it's like, okay, yeah, do they really have an incentive to say, oh no, that $1.2 million card didn't go down? And look, I think if you're selling, we're talking about like $1 million cards, the buyer pool for like $1 million cards has got to be a really small community. Like, so if you have $1 million, sure, if you pull $1 million card, I could see sending it to Golden or any one of these places. But like, if it's one of these LeBrons that are constantly traded, or a Curry or a Luka or Mahomes or any of these top players, like that stuff, like you would know, like if you're in the business of kind of buying and selling $1 million cards, I don't understand why you got to take it to Heritage Auction or take it to Golden or take it to PWCC. If this is your business, like you don't need to take it to them. You know the guy that would buy that. You know the like 4 guys in the world that have $1 million to spend on a picture of a man. So like so it doesn't make sense in that sense that I think there would be more private deals. So I think what Ryan said is these cards get put up there. It's a guy that probably doesn't necessarily want to sell that card. He has the logo shield, or he has whatever, a LeBron that's super rare and that doesn't come up every often, but he has a bunch of other stuff that he wants to unload. And it might not be LeBron. Like with Herbert, I think what's happening is people are pumping Herbert because they want to get off of Herbert. I think that's one thing that people are seeing, but they also want to get off on Burrow. They want to get off on Allen. They want to get off on Mahomes because they realize, like, look at what's happened to Brady card values over the last, couple of years or so. And look, he's had a wonderful career, and none of these guys are going to come anywhere close to his career and his success level. So they realize, like, this stuff is hot and it's pumped. And so let's put one price at the top. And then, it's kind of like the stock market. Okay. If Apple's worth 3 trillion, well, okay, Microsoft's got to be worth a little bit less than that. Google's got to be worth a little bit less than that. And so as Apple goes up, if Apple doubles in valuation tomorrow, well, yeah, all the other stocks without even doing anything are going to go up in value too. And so I think that's what we see going on with the high end card. It's guys that play in that market. They're playing the game. And it's not that they want to sell that card for $1 million and cash out. It's that they want to put that card up. Because if you got $1 million Herbert card, or a Herbert card that's a maybe his most desirable card, you don't necessarily want to sell that one. But you probably have 50 other ones that you have too, that you want to get off of those ones, get some liquid cash, go buy something else, and then kind of run the whole cycle. So I think it's just a game that they play. They're in the pockets of Golden. It makes sense. Like that's a great customer for Golden. Okay. It's a great customer for PWCC. They want to attract the whale, if you will. And so, catering to them and saying, yeah, let's put this card up and make it look like it's sold for 700,000. And then, PSA, oh yeah, we are in Card Ladder. We'll put it out there that the sale was actually a legit one. And so, and there's no checks and balances. There's nobody that's going to come and police this. And if you raise your voice like AIH Sports does, if you raise your voice like Sports Card Radio, there's about 40 people saying, no, calm down, be quiet. Here, no, you need to be a little quieter. You need to talk about how cool these pictures of fucking men are and how they're wonderful and how the everything's rosy. Yeah, they're down 50%, 60%. Everybody's underwater on their entire collection if they bought over the last year. But let's talk positively and hold hands and cup each other's balls and say it's all fucking great. So yeah, I think this shit is shilled at the top. I think they put cards up. And then it's so they can get off on all the other stuff that they have. That's, why is Herbert cards worth more than anybody else? Herbert's a fucking scrub. Like, why is his shit worth anything? Like, he hasn't done anything in his career. He's not the top in statistics. He hasn't done jack shit in the playoffs. Yes, I think he's a fantastic player. Yes, I watched him at Oregon. Yes, I thought he was going to be a darn good quarterback. But should his cards be worth the most? No. Come on, that's just insane. And when anything's insane and it doesn't make sense in this industry, hanky panky is 100. It's not 100%. It's like 150%. It is happening.
Ryan, what percent of cards do you think that are labeled as private and those sales are just way out of whack? What do you think about that? Like, how many?
I think they're total crap. I mean, that Luka card where it sold and they showed the check that it sold for, and they said it sold for $4 million, and people just bought that hook, line, and sinker. It's just a total joke. I mean, these auction houses, from Mastro to Heritage to Golden, have been proven shady time after time after time. Do real transactions happen on that site? Absolutely. It's my understanding a lot of people will run up a credit. And the reason why those auction houses did so well in the card boom is people would run up a credit over there. Then they would send cards in, get a sale, and they'd kind of run up a credit and buy bigger cards. Well, what has happened is people don't have any money left over at Golden or Heritage. All that money is gone. So you've seen the decline in prices. You've seen the values fall out on these big auctions. But it is just so weird. The random Jordan PSA 9 that sold for near $500,000, that Justin Herbert card that just seemed like such an outlier to sell for $1.8 million. I don't buy this stuff. I think during the card boom, these private sales looked cool. It was kind of a new thing. People thought it was an awesome thing to spend all this money on cards. And now, here we are a year or two later, they're selling these cards for half what they purchased them. He purchased that Luka for $4 million. It might sell for a couple $1 million. There's plenty of examples of people buying cards and literally selling that exact same card months or a year later for hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss. So I think we've seen the market kind of decline, and we're seeing all the hanky panky and all this stuff kind of come to fruition. And certainly me and Colin have capitalized that over the last 8 months or so. There's a good example. Even in the declining market, there are ways to capitalize on the sports card industry. Colin and I probably made more money on sports cards than we have the last 2 or 3 years. So I think there are ways to take advantage of the market, whether it goes up or down. I think most people in the sports card world they only can make money if things are going up. can only make content and things are going up. They can only make, they can only make money if card values are going up. They can't see the other side of the coin. They can't play the other side. And but hey, that's what separates people, I guess. What do you think, Colin?
Crooked Ken Golden's back, and he says, I'd rather own an AIH rookie card than that bum Herbert. Okay.
Hey, we have some inside information on the San Diego Chargers. We literally grew up around the corner, and this is not a flex. Our house was not worth as much as he is, but we literally grew up around the corner from Alex Spanos, who his family actually still owns the Chargers. Shout out actually Alex Spanos for the king size candy bar she handed out at Halloween. So rest in peace, Alex Spanos. But that is not an organization, guys, that screams Super Bowls. Sorry, guys. San Diego Chargers and the Alex Spanos family, that is not a family that's going to put rings on Justin Herbert's fingers. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. He could be the most talented quarterback in the league, and he, at best, might end up with one ring like Aaron Rodgers has or some of these other guys. So sorry. Hey, I get the guy's amazing, but if people spending big money on Herbert, I don't get it, especially like Colin said, the decline in Brady prices. And the guy won 7 Super Bowl. I mean, the guy's clearly the best quarterback of all time. Look at Joe Montana rookie cards. You could basically base Herbert prices, all these guys' prices off. What is the Joe Montana rookie and what are Tom Brady prices? These guys aren't going to have as good a career as those guys. Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls, never threw an interception in the Super Bowl, never lost the Super Bowl. Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls, and how many times he's been there? What, 10, 11 freaking times? These guys aren't even going to come close. Justin Herbert would literally be lucky to win 1 Super Bowl. Might be lucky to get there. Again, Alex Spanos and the San Diego Chargers, guys. Sorry, that does not scream Super Bowl championships over there in San Diego. Sorry, wherever they're playing now, Glendale or Carson or Los Angeles or wherever they're with now. It's not going to be a Super Bowl contending team and an organization. I think Dean Spanos, the Suns, running it now. I'm sorry, guys. So I don't know. I'd be a hard sell on Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they got rid of Drew Brees, and then they had Philip Rivers. So, but now they have his name, Herbert. So, speaking of Golden again, so I was looking at this one, I think Marvel set, and I think this same set came 4 months ago, and it just seems really odd. Like, why would it come back unless someone really resubmitted it? So do you think with Golden, what they're doing is that if it's not paid for, they just relist it and bada bing, bada boom? Or how does that work?
If it's one of these things where they're just trying to pump it, they just put that $1.8 million Herbert up. It sells for $1.8 million. Card Ladder reports it, and then boom, that card goes into whoever it was. I think some of these cards are just props. I think some of these auctions are literally just props, and they don't actually change hands. That I think unless it's really public, a lot of times, how guys love to flex their cards. Guys love to go on Instagram and show off their cards. You're telling me that some of these big cards that sell on Instagram, and we never see them again? No, I think these cards are just props to just prop up the underlying market or some of the other cards in the auction. Like Colin said, whether it's Herbert, Burrow, they're trying to get off all the modern quarterbacks, whatever it is, whether it's a Jordan card and then all the other underlying Jordan sell for more money. I think these cards are just props, so that you see a card sells for a kind of a weird dollar amount, and then you never see that card literally almost ever again, and maybe years later this card comes up. So. And I don't know how that works. I don't know how that would work per se. If you were the owner of this Herbert card, maybe there's just a giant reserve on it that we don't know about it. I don't know. I think these things get chilled. It's been proven that, in the Bill Mastro case. Again, guys new to the hobby should go watch that American Greed. It's been proven at these auction houses that there's shill bidding involved. There's in states like Texas and Arizona, I think it's actually legal to shill bid your own item. So it's happening out here, and it's something that's hard to crack. It's easier to crack the code on the Crown Royal boxes than crack the code on shill bidding, especially at the auction houses. On eBay, you used to do it because of the eBay IDs, and people used to be able to figure things out that way. I think eBay's made it harder to track that because they've hide user IDs and kind of hide bid history a little bit, but more than they used to. But certainly, again, and this happens down to the $5 level all the way up to that $1.8 million level. This is a problem in the hobby that probably doesn't get talked about enough, only because it's hard to track and hard to find out. But I guarantee it affects all of us to some degree.
Yeah, you said Mastro. So someone sent me, I think it was the Mastro court documents, and I think there are a few individuals that are prominent in this industry that were named in that Mastro case where they had an item and then it appeared that someone was shilling on behalf of them. And I think, Ryan, you said one of your older videos that you played, maybe someone from SGC, maybe the managing director, if I remember correctly. And then
yeah, he was on the, that's what's funny. The FBI, and I don't know how the list leaked. This is, gosh, this is so many years ago. This is dating 6 or 7 years ago. Somehow this list where literally the FBI kept track of all the items, of who was shill bidding, et cetera, the loss. Now Mastro got rid of tons of records. So there was actually way more shill bidding that went on, but those records were destroyed. So what the FBI could find were all these records. And yeah, there was Dave Foreman at SGC. The week that list came out, SGC moved their headquarters down to Florida. I mean, is that just a weird coincidence? So Kenny Golden might be on that list. I know.
Yeah, I think his name was listed, and it appears that someone was maybe shilling on his behalf. I mean, this is what I saw, but I couldn't confirm. But
guaranteed. There's the list. I actually used to have the list. I could probably dig it up. There's actually a searchable list with the victims' names, like Keith Olbermann, the former ESPN announcer. He got screwed like a bunch of different times in that deal. So you can actually see the victims' names and the people who were shill bidding. I'll try to dig up I'll dig up the list and send it to you, because it actually would be kind of fun, especially now, to go back through and search a few names and just see who's still around in the hobby. And maybe, ask them about it if, ever get them on the channel, because yeah, there's an actual list with actual shill bidders, and the items and the dollar amount, and the victims are even listed too. And I don't know how I think maybe that accidentally got posted in court documents, and then somebody put it out there. And I remember when that came out. There's actually way more than that. Mastro destroyed and got rid of like years of records. So the shill bidding over at Mastro ran for many years, was millions upon millions of dollars, and the dude ended up serving some prison time for that. So I mean, it's a serious thing. There's no wonder people like Kenny Golden and Herod, they probably don't want to talk about it. They don't want to go on record about it, because they know there are potentially some serious consequences if you get caught. So, and our boy up there in Oregon, Brent at PWCC, literally haven't seen him in a few years. So he's been awfully quiet. So it's a fun topic, but it's a hard one. Again, it's a hard one to track, because I track those things down. But if I track down the show bidder list, I'm going to send it to you, actually.
Okay, awesome. So Colin, what's up with all these guys, shady, potential shady activities in the past, and now, they're still big in the hobby. We had this huge run up, and now, easy money has gone, Fed hiked interest rates. It just seems weird that still these guys are at the top. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's strange, but your thoughts?
I mean, there's cockroaches in the industry. Ryan and I are probably one of them. And it just, I think it just speaks to the community that they, you could be like Golden and screw people over, and then all of a sudden just rise from the dead and be big again. And, you can be, PSA and make number of mistakes mistake after mistake after mistake, but it's PSA. And I think with the shill bidding and the grading, everybody that's a fan of cards and is clutching the cards, and they want to see the values go up. They don't care if the guy at the top is shill bidding. They don't care if he's a freaking crook. Like, they don't care. They just want to see the values of their cards go up. And so if it's, if you have a Justin Herbert card and all of a sudden one sells for $1.9 million, you don't really care. Your card just went up in value. And so I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of just people that look at this industry from kind of just a fanboy perspective, and they want their cards to go up to justify this to their mom. So they, it's like, hey, I know I live in the basement, but my cards went up 18% according to Card Ladder this month. And, it's like, it's this great thing. So I mean, I think that it's just kind of like, there's probably a term for it, but it's like, you're just in this loop where you buy the card and then you want to see it go up, and you don't care if the guy's crooked. You don't care if it got shilled. You don't care. You just want to see that card go up in value. Whereas, if you look at this objectively a little bit, if you really do want to accumulate cards, dude, you want these things to crash and burn. You want these things to go down. That's what's so surprising me as well. It's like everybody's like, you should put out positive content. It's like, no, actually, you want me destroying this shit, driving it to the bottom, and then you go in there and you buy. Okay, that's what the smart people do in the stock market. They talk dog crap on a stock, just talk it down, 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 and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, wait a second, everybody is not oh, now it's a screaming hot buy. Then they buy it and then they start pumping it. So it's like, like so many people like can't even get out of like first grade thinking on this stuff. Yeah, you actually want these cards to tank. You don't want them to sell for a lot of money. If you didn't have shill bidding in this industry, you would have probably more cards and probably better cards. And so that is why you should clean this stuff up. That is why you should actually care about this. That is why you should get these guys like Ken Golden and Mastro and everybody connected to that the hell out of this business. You should look at PSA and say, wait a second, the grading company owns the auction house and then owns the price guiding, and it's all just one little circle jerk. Like, hello, shouldn't you want to break that up? Shouldn't you want to do something about that? Because that's keeping prices artificially high. It's keeping cards out of your hands. Yes, it's cool, like I said, to buy a card and then type in on eBay and, oh, it went up. But, like, are you trying to sell your card? If you're not trying to sell your card, I actually want these things to go to the ground, go to zero. And that's when you come in and you start scooping these things. It doesn't surprise me that people look at this from kind of just that basic, human instinct. I buy something and I want to be confirmed of it going up. Like, just, think about it a little deeper, get these freaking cockroaches out of here, call them out, talk crap on them. Don't be so scared. They're not going to sponsor you. And if they do, like, what is it? Like, it's going to pay for, a 200 square feet of your rent or something. If these guys actually sponsor you, I mean, I don't want to say here how much we've made on the channel and make on Sports Card Radio. Certainly back in the day, it was like tens of thousands of dollars a month on the website. Okay. This was like 10 years ago or so. It was a fortune. Ryan and I were just bawling out basically. Okay. I mean, I was single at the time. I didn't have kids to feed. So, there's plenty of ways to make money, and you can also call these guys out and call the BS. And if we call the BS, yes, maybe the values reset, but having the values actually reset to where the market really should be, or maybe even below where the market should be, that's where your opportunity. Jeff Wilson telling you to buy cards at the top, that's what the suckers did. That's what the sheep did. Okay. You actually want these cards to kind of reset below kind of a market value. That's when you come in and buy. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, you actually start selling these damn things.
Yeah. You made a good comment about PSA or Collectors Universe. They own PSA, they own Golden, they own Card Ladder. And the other thing, which I find quite interesting, is they have people that do content creation on YouTube. I think there's She Collects Cards as part of it. There's obviously Cardboard or Card Ladder. And then there's Carlos with PSA Canada, who's been talking smack about me lately, but it is what it is. But, they control the content, and, they have, in my opinion, a huge conflict of interest. So it is what it is. So I just find that really strange. And you can't say anything about it, which is quite interesting. because I think people, like you said earlier, Colin, people don't want to be, attacked in the comment section. They're going to get, it may hurt their endorsement deals in the future. That's how I see it. Yeah, it is coming to the 2-hour mark.
We got 6 more hours.
I don't think I could do that.
Me neither, brother.
I don't have.
I need some illegal drugs for that. Yeah, I need some illegal.
You're out in California. I already worked out early in the morning.
That is true. It's only 10 here.
Yeah, it's like 12, and I worked out. But anyways, before maybe I let you get off, maybe your final thoughts on what's going on and what do you like to say, Colin?
So it's been a year where the scam, scandals, and shadiness have just kind of compounded on itself. It started with the Logan Paul thing. We went into Mark's cards. It went into, I don't know, there was other stuff that went on, but then then we got into box cutters. There was the 86 Fleer there, there was numerous, it's just gone on and on down the line. And, there was dip. And I mean, there's just so many things that have happened. And, Ryan and I kind of joke privately sometimes, like it's going to cool down maybe for a week or two and then pick back up. I think it's just going to keep getting worse. So if I was out there and I was a buyer, I mean, now we've got this kaboom code thing, and this is just going to continue to unravel over the next couple of weeks as people really start to look a little closer into this and realize that there's probably a lot more sets that this applies to and how much deeper this goes to. And so I would just, and we just talked about shill baiting and stuff. Have a budget, have what you want to buy and have a budget. And when the cards go over your budget, don't, stay disciplined and don't chase it, because it's going to come back. It's going to continue to come back there. We could have had a 2-hour show on interest rate policy and stuff like that and put everybody to bed. But, it's not, things are not going to snap back. We're not going to have this like instant Jordans that are worth 100,000 are going to go back to 300,000. It's just not there. There's nothing out there that says that's going to happen. In fact, almost everything says that it's just going to continue to walk back and maybe find a floor, maybe find a little plateau. And that's going to be a good time to accumulate, but have a budget, stick to it, take pride in having that budget. And understand that, hey, if you have $100 a month to spend on cards and you only spend 50 of it this month, well, that means next month you've got $150. And so stick to your budget, stick to what you want, figure out what you really want from this hobby, what you ultimately want on the shelf or in the box or in the safe or wherever it is. Figure out what you ultimately want there. And try not to get sucked into, chasing whatever might be hot or really, if you like chasing the hot stuff, by all means, but don't get sucked into chasing something that you don't actually want. It's just there and you have a little extra money and you spend it. I just stick to a budget. This stuff's going to continue to come back. The hanky panky, I still think we're like in the first or second inning of this. I still think we've got a long ways to go. They all seem to start getting a little bit more interesting and a little bit more widespread. And I just think you're going to continue that. And I still don't think we've seen bankruptcies or liquidations yet. That is coming. You're going to have card shops go out of business. You're going to have collectors that fall on hard times. They bought a house at the top, like Mike Fruitman, but they bought a house at the top and then all of a sudden it's now worth 20% less and they have to start donking off their cards. That's what's going to happen. Okay. And so the deals are going to get better. The stories are going to get more interesting. If you don't like negativity, if you don't like the expose of these cockroaches, don't watch, don't tune in. And if you talk crap, we're going to come right back at you most of the time. We're going to insult you. We're going to insult your IQ level. We understand that you live at home with your mom and she's constantly grabbing dinner for you and serving you, making sure you have your diaper on and it's clean and those types of things. We understand that's what's happening, but have a budget, have fun with it. And just know that the more this stuff goes down, the more excited I get. I wasn't buying cards for like a year and a half. Now I'm actually buying cards again. So I'm actually excited. And that's what I feel. I don't know if I answered the question, but fuck it.
Yeah, you did. Oh yeah, what are your thoughts on Great Cure? Then I'm gonna go to Ryan.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I swear to God, I only know about this guy because of you, AIH. And I swear to God, I probably should send you a royalty on most of my videos because I watch your videos. I watch Dan the Card Man. I'll watch a couple of other guys, but I don't watch. I mean, like the first thing I do in the morning, I bring up the stock market. I have another channel where that's all I do, all I care about, all I focus on. I would actually consider that my job is to care about the stock market and what's going on there. So and I'm watching CNBC from, you know, when my kids are not watching TV, I'm watching that during the week. So like, I don't follow this that closely. And so I just passively heard you talk about Curator a couple different times. And then finally you did that video where there was like these Marvel cards that sold for a lot. And then I think you called it at the top and you're like, I think they're going to go down. And I was like, that's a good call. And so I remember I did a video where I was like, dude, you made a good call. And sure, you can take a victory lap, but you're speaking to your audience already. So what I wanted to do was do a video to where I called out your call to get you some subscribers, get you some attention. And I think it worked. I think you said you got a couple hundred off of it. So that's what I was doing.
600, yeah.
Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's what I want is like to be able to take, like, I wasn't really stomping on Curator, but the more I looked into it, it's like the dude wears a t-shirt with his own face on it. I mean, the guy's a fucking tool. And we have some, I won't bring up some of the other things that we've heard about him, the kind of list that he may or may not be on, but so we'll leave we'll leave that somewhere else. But and you know, his name that he uses might be an alias, but so like the guy's a fucking tool, like he's a fucking dick bag. And so, and you just look at him and tell that. And then when he starts talking, you tell it even more. And then you look, he has a fucking face, he has his own fucking face on his shirt. And then he tries to sell it to people for like $30. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how? And then he like travels around the country. I think he has a kid and he travels around the country. Yeah, I'm in here doing a 2-hour live stream. My kids were asleep before I came in here. In fact, that was the time we set up for the show. I was like, look, I can't do it before 7 because my kids are awake. And look, I understand everybody. I'm not trying to tell people how to parent, but the guy's a fucking dick bag. He's a tool. And I just wanted to dunk on him. And that's how I feel about him. Like, I don't give a fuck about him. He can sell and pump whatever he wants. And, you know, he was like, oh, I think this is bringing attention to me and I'm getting subscribers and shit like that. It's like, I don't give a fuck, dude. You're literally sitting at a card show, you know, jerking off with no people buying your cards. They're overpriced. You bought them at the top. He wants to be Jeff Wilson. He wishes he was Ken Golden. He wishes he was fucking somebody in this hobby. That's how I feel about him.
Ryan, your thoughts on Curator, and then your final thoughts, and we'll leave it at that.
I mean, I wish I could come as strong as that on the Great Creator. I think these guys, by and large, are pretty harmless, honestly. I think, yeah, maybe the shirt with your own face on it, that's maybe going a little bit far, but by and large, I think these guys are harmless. I think they probably they probably enjoy maybe some of the attention they get from us. They probably think we're more bent out of shape than the rest of you guys. Again, I told the story about Mike Smith with the 5 felonies. Guys, none of you guys are ever going to stack up to Mike Smith, the 5 felonies, the FBI, and the not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. So it's all downhill after that for us. It's all kind of gravy. We just kind of stand around and laugh at these guys. To his credit, he's still here making content. He's still going to shows. And there's a lot of people that made videos that are gone, that are selling insurance now or working at McDonald's. There's a lot of people that were going to shows and aren't anymore. So I will give him credit that he stuck it out, and he's passionate about the hobby. So I will give him credit about that. I can't go as hard as Colin on him because, again, since 2016 and Mike Smith and the 5 felonies, everybody else is kind of water under the bridge. You know, it may seem like we're mad at these guys or we're attacking these guys or we're been out of shape, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, hey, we're getting a kick out of watching these guys. And again, I do respect him. The fact that he lasted through the boom cycle and he's still here making content and he's still going to shows. I think there's at least some credit to go to that, at least. If we end on a positive note, right? We got Sports Card Radio. Maybe we'll end on a positive note.
Yeah, and I didn't pay for that positive note, but now we know that we could pay you $1,000 to dress up as the Backyard Bros, and then you could you could do some ads for some STD or whatever drug, right?
Anything you guys want, but it got to be 1,000 each. It used to be to get on the show. It was a share of Amazon. Remember that call? We used to tell people to buy a share of Amazon stock each. Now, it's actually down. I don't know what Amazon stock was a lot more than 1,000. I don't know what it is now.
It's split. That's the thing. It did a 10 for 1 split or something. So
10 for 1. So they cheated.
Something like that. Yeah, it's like $100 now, but at the time it was like $2,200.
Anybody wants any positive content out of Sports Card Radio, Venmo, PayPal, money order, Zelle, whatever it is. We don't take cards. There was one guy who wanted to send me a card, and I was like, no. I was like, no, you're not sending me a card for a positive video. I'm like, no, I'm a cash, bro. Jeff Wilson didn't do that video on Mojo Stock Market or whatever it was for a card. Jeff Wilson got over 4 figures, guys, for that video. So that's the going price. Whatever Jeff Wilson got for that video, we'll make any video you guys want. STD product, whatever it is, hair product. We'll do whatever you guys need to do. And Colin,
we did Manscaped. We did Manscaped.
We did Manscaped
in that region. So that's why we pumped Manscaped, because they came with the dollar bills. So.
All right, guys, this was fun. We should do it sometime in the future.
Absolutely,
as well.
Let's do it again.
Yep,
definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, brother.
See you later.
Yeah.